Hello, my name's Omar Kamlin and I'm the Senior Medical Director at Orphalan. I'd like to join the audience and all the contributors to this webinar on congratulating the WDA on their 40th anniversary. Over the years, they've been truly outstanding advocates for the Wilson disease community. Orphalan is a proud supporter of the WDA and we wish them well for the next 40 years. For many of you in the audience, this may be the first time you've heard of either Orphalan the company or Kuvrio, the treatment for Wilson disease. Orphalan is a small to medium-sized business with just under 100 employees. We're based in Europe, the UK, the US and Brazil. We focus on rare disease, in particular Wilson disease. In this presentation, I will, with my colleagues and a guest, provide you, the audience, with the following: a description of our product Kuvrio, how we got to where we are today, summarize the key study that led to our approval in the US. I will also provide you with some details about our exciting research program, provide details on Orphalan's Navigator program designed to help patients get Kuvrio. Kuvrio is an innovative treatment for Wilson disease. Many of you will know of or are already taking trientine hydrochloride capsules. These have been around for more than 50 years. Kuvrio is different. Kuvrio is a tablet. The innovations make it distinct from trientine hydrochloride. Kuvrio is more stable at room temperature and, unlike many trientine capsules, does not require refrigeration. I'm now pleased to introduce you to Nassim Amin, CEO of Orphalan. Nassim's been with the company from the very beginning, when trientine tetrahydrochloride was first discovered in Paris, France. Nassim, welcome. We're here to celebrate the WDA on their 40th anniversary.
Thank you, Omar. And I would like to take this moment to congratulate the WDA on its 40th anniversary. Our journey began with the WDA in 2016, when I had the opportunity and the privilege of meeting with the FDA in partnership with Mary Graper and Mike Shilsky. And both of them joined me in Washington, D.C. when we had our first interactions with the FDA. And they were pivotal in both convincing the FDA and us of the need for trientine tetrahydrochloride.
Now, Professors Mike Shilsky and Eve Roberts recently wrote in their New England Journal article that the introduction of chelators revolutionized the treatment for Wilson disease. Now, that was some 70 years ago. Could you explain to our audience why you felt there was a need to develop an alternative trientine?
When we first became involved in the development of trientine tetrahydrochloride, we first embarked upon a journey where we spoke to both Wilson disease patients and the WDA, and also to physicians, eminent physicians like Professor Shilsky. And it became very clear to us that there were two main things that we could do to contribute. One was that we learned that the patient journey was a particularly challenging one, both during the day and throughout their lifetime. The burden of taking multiple pills multiple times a day, added to that a cold storage trientine burden, was very substantial for patients. The second thing we understood is that DPA was used first line because the conventional wisdom was that it was a more potent, efficacious product, but you sacrificed a safety profile. And that's when patients would switch to trientine when they ran into problems with DPA. So historically, these drugs were approved without much evidence. They were only based upon a few case studies. In the current framework of working with the FDA, we felt that if we did a trial where we were able to compare the two drugs side by side, we may be able to show the FDA and the community that the two drugs were equipotent, but you had the benefit of the 50 years of safety profile that the trientines have established. So the chelate trial we performed allowed us to show that. Our two contributions were showing that trientine tetrahydrochloride could be used as an alternative to DPA in patients who are on maintenance therapy, but also contributed with a room temperature stable trientine tetrahydrochloride.
I think this was a real critical trial and really covered a lot of ground and filled in gaps of knowledge. For many years, we've used the medications, both penicillamine and trientine, for treatment of patients with Wilson disease. But the labeling is that penicillamine has been used as primary, and the patients who've had complications on penicillamine were indicated to get trientine, although we have known for many years that the trientine treatments have been very effective and good for patients and very safe. So having this ability to put these two products head to head and having the advantage as well of having the trientine compound in the tetrahydrochloride form, which has heat stability and very consistent absorptive characteristics, really gave us the ability to try to answer a very important question: are these two equivalent for treating our patients on maintenance therapy for Wilson disease? So in this trial, we screened 77 patients who were over the age of 18, who were stable on their D-penicillamine therapy. And at the end of an early period of observation, 53 of them met criteria as being stable both biochemically and clinically, and they were randomized to one of two treatments, either to remain on the D-penicillamine or to be treated with the trientine tetrahydrochloride. And this primary endpoint for the study was evaluated at 24 weeks, and then patients were offered another 24 weeks extension so that we can continue to follow the effect of the medications on the patients. Now, the important point of the trial is that we also used for the first time a biochemical endpoint that gave us an estimate of free copper, and that is called the non-ceruloplasmin copper assay that was done by combination of chromatographic speciation and use of ICP mass spectroscopy to be able to accurately measure the copper that is bioavailable, that is not in the ceruloplasmin protein. And we, in addition, continue to measure the very standard things, which are liver tests, clinical examination, as well as neurologic examinations in these individuals. And the other endpoint, which is typically used to monitor patients on chelation therapy, urine copper excretion, was checked as well. At 24 weeks, we did find the most important point was the bioavailable or free copper by NCC was found to be equivalent statistically between the two groups. But interestingly, within the use of the urine copper excretion, we did find a change. Those who went on the trientine product had a lower urine copper excretion relative to those who were on the penicillamine. But the fact that this occurred without causing an increase in the bioavailable copper was very critical and led us to go back and think very carefully about the properties of these compounds, in particular the trientine, where we know that it is not completely absorbed. So we postulated that the remaining compound that's not absorbed works actually to bind the copper in the gut, thus preventing absorption of the copper. So it had a dual action. So in the end, it was actually equivalent to the penicillamine in terms of maintaining the non-ceruloplasmin copper and the stability of our patients as judged not only by investigators, but by an independent group that adjudicated this separately. And this carried through even to the 48 weeks of observation, which was important because we wanted to know how long we can maintain the stability and the equivalence. And in the end, our conclusion is that the trientine tetrahydrochloride is non-inferior to the D-penicillamine and can be a very effective maintenance therapy for patients with Wilson disease. In this particular study, the chelate trial, we utilized the NCC to examine a stable population of patients. Now, the important question is, can this assay help us in all circumstances for our patients, whether it's during the initial phase of treatment, whether it's those who are potentially failing therapy or having complications? can we use this to help guide our therapy better?
I'm now joined by Carla Bennett, our Principal Clinical Research Manager. Hi, Carla.
Hi, Omar. One of our exciting new things is that we're hoping to plan a Couvreur study in children. That's currently in a design phase, and we're hoping that might be the first prospective study of trientine in children with Wilson's disease, which I'm sure you're excited about, Omar.
I am indeed, because I'm a paediatrician, but also because actually the paediatric population is generally understudied in Wilson's disease. That's up and coming. What about what's on offer right now?
So we currently have an active real-world evidence study, which is ongoing in the US. Our aim there is to investigate further into our promising NCC assay, which we discovered during the Chelate study. Our hope is that assay will improve the diagnostic assessments available to patients and to physicians.
The NCC assay was validated during the Chelate trial and was used as the primary endpoint. And so the next step in the journey of evaluating its utility is to see how it performs in day-to-day clinics. And for this purpose, we've designed a non-interventional study for which, for the patient, it means attending routine clinic appointments and having routine blood draws. And what we ask of the patients is when they have their blood draw, we will take an extra blood sample for the NCC and then evaluate it at the end of the study. In addition, we'll be asking patients to complete some brief questionnaires on their general well-being and how they take their medications. If patients are interested, where will they find a recruiting site?
So as you can see from the map, we've got a good coverage of the US currently. We're setting up between 12 and 15 sites across the US. We currently have 9 in setup. And you can see what we currently have at the moment. Starting in the east, we have Yale University. Coming over to the middle, we have Chicago in Michigan. Over to the west, we have UC Davies, and down south, we have Advent Health and University of Miami.
Now, if viewers would like to have any more information, how do they go about getting that?
Well, if you go to clinicaltrials.gov, there's a central website there. And if you put in real world and Wilson's disease, our reason study should pop up, and you should be able to see a nice summary of the study, where we're running that, which sites are involved, and a little bit more about the study itself.
Well, I'm sure that was very informative for our viewers. Thank you so much, Carla.
Thank you, Emma.
I'm now joined by Christina, Orphalan's Associate Director for Patient Services. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Omar. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Could you tell our audience where you're based, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Just right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is where I call home.
Now, you oversee the Navigator program for Couvreur. Could you please explain how this helps patients get Couvreur?
Yeah, absolutely. So patients are really at the heart of every decision that we make here at Orphalan, and our main priority is to help patients whenever we can and however we can. And it's really that commitment that led to the creation of our Navigator program. And once you as a patient and your doctor have decided that Couvreur is the right treatment option for you, your doctor can submit, a prescription directly to the program. And that's when you would be connected with a care coordinator. And this person can really help support you throughout all of the next steps in your journey. And a lot of you may be asking yourselves what that really means. And really, it's a fair question. The main goals of the program are to ensure that you as a patient feel well informed about the status of your prescription and are provided with details of offerings that you might be eligible for. And your care coordinator will work with you every step of the way, help you understand your insurance coverage as it relates to Couvreur, and have discussions with you about financial assistance options that might be right for you.
Okay, now you mentioned the financial assistance options. Is that something available to patients through the program?
Yes, it is. So one of the offerings that Orphalan has made available under that Navigator program is copay assistance for Couvreur. And this offer is extended to patients who hold commercial or private insurance. And sometimes that means you have an employer-based plan or through perhaps the Affordable Care Act. But your care coordinator can definitely guide you through those options to make sure you pick the one that's right for you.
Okay, and what about those patients who don't have insurance?
So Orphalan is proud to offer the patient assistance program for situations where a patient finds themselves either without any insurance, or maybe they do have insurance but Couvrior is not covered through their plan. So at that point, your care coordinator will discuss with you this option for the patient assistance program. And if you're interested, they'll help get you connected with the appropriate form so that we can evaluate you against the program's eligibility criteria.
You've gone through a lot of options and offerings, and they all sound truly wonderful, but I can imagine that decisions take a long time before the courier arrives on your doorstep. Could you shed some light on how long that might be?
Yeah, and actually that can be a little bit of a tricky question because every insurance plan is a little bit different. They have different processes or a different number of required steps that need to be taken to obtain approval for Couvrior or a medication. So that said, we definitely wanted to create something to help patients get started more quickly because we know that they might be anxious to get started on their treatment as soon as possible. So we have established what we call the Quick Start program, and this may allow you to get started on therapy while you wait for that, determination for coverage through your insurance plan. You can visit Couvrior.com. This houses a wealth of information about both of those topics. And if you're interested in speaking with someone directly, in the right-hand corner of that screen, there'll be a Contact Us button, and you can get connected with the care coordinator that way as well to have all of your questions answered.
Thank you for watching the video on Orphalan and Couvrior. I hope that it was informative for you. And again, congratulations to the WDA on its 40th anniversary.